everybody, this is Reese Counts with Autoblog. Today we are here with a 2017 Audi RS3. We're going to do a live drive walk around. If you guys have any questions, we got Michael behind the camera. He'll read them out to me and we'll try to answer them. So the RS3 is the hottest version of Audi's smallest vehicle in the US, the A3. It uses the same turbocharged inline 5 that we saw on the TTRS that we drove last week. It makes 400 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque, and it sounds really amazing. This has got a number of options on it, including the sport exhaust, which we'll fire up in a bit. The car starts at 55,495. This one rings up for 62,475. It's got a few options, including dynamic package and tech package. It's a really, really lovely shade of blue, and I'm glad we got to drive it today because it's a little overcast, but it offsets nicely with the green and the yellow leaves in the background. This is a really, really compact car. It's based on the Golf platform, so it's really not that roomy in the back seat or the trunk, but it's really fun to toss around because it's relatively light, because it's relatively small. The wheelbase is short. Lots of neat RS stuff on this. Of course, the badges, the big oval exhaust, because this does have the sport exhaust. The exhaust tips are black. This does not have the blackout package, so it's got all the silver trim, which I think looks good. It's not chrome, it's kind of a flat color. It's got the optional 19-inch wheels, red brake calipers. The RS package is got the lower trim to kind of make it look a little wider, lower, sportier. The suspension sits a little lower than both the stock A3 and even the S3. Yeah, let's fire it up and go for a ride.
Let us know if you have any questions, guys. Type them out in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from.
So, as you can see in the interior, the design is kind of a mix of Audi's larger cars and the TTS. I'm sorry, the Audi TT Coupe. It's got kind of the round vents and clean looks and very driver-oriented cockpit of the TT, but there's lots of, there's more going on down here. There's a little bit more space, so it's a nice mix. I really like the vents. They're not as cool as the ones in the TT with the digital displays, but they still kind of rotate in all directions. You open and close them by rotating this ring. I just think they look really cool. The Miata has similar ones that look like kind of cheap knockoffs of this, but there's real carbon fiber trim on this. I think this is a $900 option. I would not have picked it, but it's fine. It looks good and it's real. Other little stuff, it's got this nice black leather with the white stitching. These traditional new RS seats with the kind of perforated diamond stitch, which it looks fine. A diamond stitch is becoming a little old hat, but the seats are really comfortable. They are manually adjusted, which was kind of a surprise because they've got power lumbar. And this is not a cheap car to have manual seats, but you know the Germans, they love to charge you for every little thing. That said, they are pretty adjustable. You can do both front tilt, slide, and height. Some other things, we can change the drive select mode using this button. I'm going to put it in individual, which I've already set up. Let's see if we can get it over here. That's not what I wanted. Individual. Here we go. So we can select all the options. Engine, transmission, I'm going to leave it in dynamic. Suspension, I want soft suspension, but I want steering, quattro, and engine sound all in their sportiest configuration, but I don't want to bump it over these Michigan roads. This car in the US does come with standard with the magnetic suspension, so it's adjustable, and it's actually not super smooth, but it's pretty good over these Michigan roads. The 19-inch wheels don't help. but it's a lot better than the TTRS we had with the fixed rate dampers and shocks. So other little things, virtual cockpit, which we've talked about in like nearly every Audi. It's good here, it's good in everything. It looks really awesome. The paddle shifters feel nice. They're a little further in than I would like, but the action's pretty good. A lot of people knock the A3 and the S3 and the RS3 for feeling a little cheaper than the other Audis, and yes, that's true. It's not quite as good as some of the other stuff, but it's a lot better than even you would get in something like a Golf. So for an entry-level like luxury car, I think it does pretty well. The display up here kind of looks dumb, but you can press this button and it goes away. So let's go take it for a ride. As you may be able to hear, that sport exhaust sounds really, really good with this new 5-cylinder. It's lighter and more efficient, more powerful. It's just better in every way than the outgoing 2.5 liter 5. Like I said, it's 400 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. Power sent to all four wheels through Audi's 7-speed dual clutch. It's really quick, short ratios with from like 1 to 6 and then a really long 7 for fuel efficiency. It's smooth when you want it to be smooth, but it's really quick when you need it to be quick. So let's pull out onto here, and if we've got a gap, I will jump on it. Alright, looks like we're gonna have to wait for a gap in traffic. I'm a big fan of this car. I like the size. It's really compact. I mean, think of this as like a 400 horsepower four-door like sedan Golf with all-wheel drive and a really slick transmission. So if I was using launch control, 0 to 60 is in like 3.9 seconds, which is astoundingly quick. The fact that it's coming in like a really kind of compact sedan. I mean, this is, I'd say, smaller than like a Honda Civic. And oh God, it feels awesome. Like, it's so light. This engine has got power everywhere. There's tons of torque, and it comes on really low, really linear. Turbo lag is pretty much non-existent. This engine is a real peach. Nobody's doing 5 cylinders anymore. I was talking to a friend online last night, and we were trying to just nobody's doing 5 cylinders, and Audi like has like the audacity to bring out like a whole new one with aluminum block. I think it's got a magnesium head. It's really, really really awesome, and it sounds great. I don't know who is in charge of tuning exhaust at Audi, but I mean, they're doing a phenomenal job across the board. The V8s, even the 4 cylinders sound phenomenal. Other things, I really like the steering. Maybe I'd have to drive it on the right roads, but I feel like the steering is better in this than the TTRS we had last week, which is kind of surprising. I wasn't a huge fan of that steering. I thought it was a bit numb, but you know, Audi still isn't quite there with some of the competition, but the engine's great. The suspension, I think, is way better on this. If I was buying one, I don't think I would get the fixed rate suspension. It's just too terrible. Coming up on construction. I'm not going to miss the turn anymore, guys. I promise. These brakes are really, really good. I think they're 2-piece rotors up front, fixed calipers in the front, floating in the rear. They've got plenty of power. The bite's not super they're not super abrupt. hate brakes that like are quick, but they're all like bite. There's no modulation. These are really, really good. The pedal length, the pressure, it's all just how I want it. The TTRS had better ones, but it also had the optional like several $1,000 carbon ceramic brakes, which are fine and great on a track, but I don't know how much you really need them on the road. I don't know. Like, it's fast Audis are really awesome. Anything Quattro is with the Quattro badge is usually like done. And now that Quattro is like Audi Sport, to kind of differentiate it from just the standard all-wheel drive system, they've been doing some really amazing work. I think anything they touch is great. From the RS3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They don't have an 8, but they've got the R8, which is theirs. I don't know. I've always been a big fan of Audis. I used to own a GTI, so I'm a Volkswagen guy. I don't know. I like their engines are really phenomenal. I think the styling is good. The handling is really great. The steering is not quite there, but it's still really good. I like this car. It's expensive. It's, like I said, 66 and change. But it's, somebody got popped. 66 and change, but it's a lot of car. It's more practical than like the M2. The M2 is probably a better driver's car, but if you want like have any semblance of people in the back, you can do this. I actually kind of like the looks of this a little bit better than the M2, though they're both kind of that good like compact size. I like the 2 Series, but I don't know, I kind of like the sedan. And I'm a hatchback guy. I wish they would bring the Sportback version of this here, but they won't. Because it's Audi and it's America, they know they won't sell. I also wish you'd get this with the manual transmission, but this automatic is really, really good. It's this, like I said, the 7-speed dual clutch. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, we'll go back to the other spot. So,
Currently no questions, but
no questions today, guys. If you guys tell us where you're watching from, we'll try to call you out.
John, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks, John.
He's back in the office.
We missed you yesterday. You had a calendar said lunch date. I hope that went well. It was such a miserable day yesterday, guys. We wanted to do this video yesterday, but it was just raining. So if you go back and look, we did an interior walk around of the Silverado High Country. If you guys like that, like, we can do some more of those. It's good to know we can. If you guys are interested in the live stuff, I mean, like,
Hello.
Yeah, these brakes are good.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, if you guys have any like things you want us to do live, you know, we're open to some more ideas. We want to talk to you guys, like, interact, and if you know, we're trying to do some new stuff here. So leave some comments, and Michael and I will get on there and talk to you guys. We'll pull it back here and do a few more interior things. If there's no more questions, then we'll call it. Fall's coming on soon, so some more of these live drives are going to be in the rain, eventually in snow, which will be fun. Hopefully I can get some good cars in there.
Benny's asking M2 or RS3.
Ooh. It's so hard to say. Like, both have their benefits. If the RS3, if you want something more practical, it's probably a little bit better in the winter because it does have Quattro. I actually kind of like the interior on this a little better. I like Audi's virtual cockpit. But the M2, it's rear drive, so you've got that kind of dynamic. You can get it with a manual transmission, which is great. I think the chassis is better, like, balance in the M2. With the engines, I'm usually like a big fan. I would pick a BMW inline 6 almost over nearly anything, but this 5-cylinder is really, really good. I don't know, man. Like, it's one of the, like, that's a really, really tough question because I'm a huge fan of both cars. Honestly, I can't say it. I have to drive them both back to back to really say. Like, right now, I'd probably say Audi, but then again, if I drove the M2 tomorrow, I'd probably say M2. So, if you're looking in the market for them, go drive both. I mean, they're both really phenomenal cars and, like, special in their own way. So, sorry I couldn't give you a better answer, but let's pop the hood and look at this engine real quick. So this is the new 5-cylinder, 2.5 liters, 400 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. Like I said, aluminum block. It's got direct and indirect, port injection to, help clean carbon buildup. Direct injection is better for fuel economy, but there's been some issues. We can hear it clicking. I think the fans are still on. Let's see if we pop it up. Yep, nothing interesting to look at under there because, like most modern engines, it's a tangled mess. But really, really something special here. Some other touches. This, like I said, this does not have the blackout package. So it's got these nice, like, matte silver. I love that it's not chrome, which looks good. I love that all the new RS stuff has been putting Quattro around here. I love the black grille. I keep saying I love. I really am just a big fan of this car. I like the styling. I like the way it drives. I like the way it sounds. Like I said, alright, so this has got the dynamic package with the 19-inch wheels. The red, it looks like 6-piston fixed calipers. There's 2-piece. Those are 1-piece rotors. They're just drilled rotors. 19-inch wheel. The summer tires. Other RS stuff, the silver mirror caps. And if you just take a step back, like, it's a really, really kind of small car. It's slightly bigger than Volkswagen Golf. So think of this as, like, it's based on the same platform. So 400 horsepower, 4-door Golf. I kind of find that hard to complain about.
Does it have launch control or track mode?
So it does have launch control. I think the way to do it is you put it in dynamic mode, turn off traction control, and then just brake torque, 1 foot on the brake and give it gas to raise the boost and then just let off. Super easy to do.
Andrew's asking about the fuel economy.
Fuel economy, it's 19 city, 28 highway with like 23 combined. Pretty abysmal city, relatively now. 19 is good for, 20 years ago, but compared to a lot of cars, especially something this size, not great. But the highway's good. It's got that long 7th gear. And I don't think it's really any better or worse than the competition. But if you're buying a performance sedan, like, you can't really expect to get great fuel economy. The S3 and the A3 do a lot better, though. Like I said, it's got the big exhaust tips. I love, here, my fist can, go inside. Those are huge, huge oval tips. It's got the battery out back, and it's quite a big one. Fortunately, that means no spare tire, but, weight balance, and I'm sure it's difficult to stuff a 5-cylinder engine under the hood of something this small. I think it's a really, really handsome car. It's not too overdone. It's got the spoiler is really small. All the lower side skirts. It's all real tasteful, not overwrought. The BMW, I think, is even a little more over the top than this, but not in a bad way. It's still a handsome car. But then you look at something like the Mercedes CLA 45, and it's just bonkers. It's got a huge wing, big. I don't know. It's a little overwrought for my taste, which is a shame because Mercedes have traditionally been very conservative, but if they're selling them, they're selling them. You guys have any more questions I can answer for you?
Let's take a listen and
let's fire it up and call it.
Guys, thanks for watching. Tag a friend who might be interested. Share. couple more questions.
Yeah.
Does it fit 4 people comfortably?
All right, so let's figure this out real quick. I'm roughly 6 feet, and I like to sit kind of far back. So, my knees are not touching the back of the seat. They're pretty damn close. Headroom's a little limited. I'd say headroom is probably more of a factor than legroom. But Michael, your side does not look quite as good. But I'm sure you could probably scoot your seat up a little bit. So,
right.
Short trips, this thing would be fine. Honestly, if you need more room, the A4, the S4, and the RS4, yes, more expensive, but they've got tons more room. Yeah, it's actually surprisingly good. Though the GTI and like the A3 and have always been like larger and surprisingly space efficient. Yeah, honestly, headroom I'd say is more of a problem. Though probably if you didn't get that stupid moonroof, probably help there.
Is the engine in front of the axle to make it more noise heavy?
The weight distribution I think is 58 front, 48 rear. Audi have tried to like offset that by managing doing the torque split on the Quattro system more rear bias, but yeah, it is pretty nose heavy. I haven't really had the chance to push this car on like a good road or like on a track. Not had it on a track. I've had it on some decent roads. And it does understeer a little bit. Like, I think some better tires would help, like, move the nose a little better. But yeah, that's one. Like I said, the M2 is just better balanced.
How does it handle compared to the Civic Type R?
I have not driven the Civic Type R yet. We're trying to get one in. So, John Snyder, if you're in the comments, maybe you can. You've driven, I think, both cars now. So. Get in there and answer these questions for those guys. But hopefully we'll get a Type R coming in soon. It's kind of that time of the year where we're trying to do a lot of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've had a couple fast Audis and a lot of good cars lately. So Civic Type R is coming.
Cool.
When we get it, we'll be sure to do one of our live drives. But if there's no other questions, we can call it for today. Been Reese Counts with Autoblog with a 2017 Audi RS3. Thanks for watching.